Kimball Clark. I am the owner of some software called Kindex. Happen to be an Ezra T. Clark descendant as well. Kindex is a family archival software built primarily because Family Search couldn't do certain things we wanted it to do, namely the ability to keyword search words within the document. Okay. We also conduct various digitization services such as scanning journals and scrapbooks, videos, audio tapes. Ultimately, all this material is made online and more accessible for families and the rest of the world. In 2015, when we launched our software, the Ezra T. Clark Family Organization was one of our first customers, and they were also one of our first family archives that was made searchable. We are located in Kaysville on Main Street. Look for the purple building. And I've been asked to speak on historical finds that we've made in Kindex. I more so want to just give you an overview of what we've done since the organization has helped fund the Ezra T. Clark Archive. I want to give you, though, an idea of what we're doing by defining the word corpus. A corpus is a collection of written texts, especially the entire works of a particular author or a body of writing on a particular subject. In anatomy, the word corpus means the main body or mass of a structure. So in essence, what we are creating is what I like to call the Clark corpus, from Ezra T. Clark on down. So as far as we can gather, there are at least 85 Clark volumes in existence which detail Ezra T. Clark, his 3 wives, his 21 children, and his 100-plus grandchildren. Kindex defines a volume as a bound record, or coil bound, perfect bound, etc. Our list of volumes continue to grow as we visit different libraries and museums. Kindex is particularly interested in any Clark record from these 3 generations, particularly those that are most likely to be lost due to age, inheritance, etc. These 85 volumes comprise journals, diaries, autobiographies, biographies, family registers, loose leaf compilations, and published books that span from the 1800s until today. Within the last 5 years and up until today, A. Charles Clark's book on Timothy Baldwin was published in large part by the organization, and one book is presently being written by Glenn Clark in Virginia, and Springdale's Patriarch will soon be revised by April Clark Clive in Pennsylvania, who is John R. Clark's daughter, late John R. Clark. Since about 2015, the Ezra T. Clark Family Organization has provided Kindex, our company, with about $4,000 toward their archive and services related to it, or what I lovingly call the Clark corpus. So what good is a corpus? Well, imagine being able to search any word of your choosing and have every possible mention of that word pull up immediately, whether it is found in relation to any volume, image, heirloom, document, or audio and video file. So any word, whether written or spoken, can be immediately pulled up. It should be of immense value to anyone creating any Clark narrative or book. Why? Because you can easily find and source your creative works, whatever and wherever they may be. 22 of these 85 volumes have been digitized by virtue of the organization's funding of a Bookeye book scanner, and most of these 22 volumes were loaned to us from the Farmington Museum. We now have 653 separate pages of material from the museum, which is about 80% of all the Clark material that they have in their library. Furthermore, we have lent the museum an iMac that has the Clark Kindex archive available for searching. 16 of these digitized works presently on the Kindex archive are presently in the public domain or otherwise approved by the copyright holder to be freely published online. We have received several hundred of gigabytes of digital files provided to us by Alicia Clark, the daughter of Anton Clark, who authored Noble Pioneer. We have aided in the commencement of what we call a physical Clark library, as you saw there in the corner, which is just beginning and will soon be housed within the Ezra T. Clark home by its owner, Andrew Clark. Just months ago, the Ezra T. Clark Family Organization received a donation on behalf of the late Ralph Clark. And this funding was primarily acquired by virtue of Kindex's aggressive efforts to collect the original Clark works to create this Clark corpus. Thank you, Ralph, for your generous children. In total, the Kindex archive houses 3,450 individual Clark records. One of the interesting discoveries that we made was the Clark line in Mexico, in Ciudad Juarez. The Wetton family has aided in that, and we were able to go and pull up a U-Haul in Idaho Falls and put all the records in the back of a U-Haul, and we're nearly done digitizing all of those records in a giant storage unit.
40 bins, right?
40 bins, yes.
So where's
36 to 40 bins.
Where's that?
It's now at the Kindex archive, and we're just digitizing them all.
From Mexico?
From Mexico, Ciudad Juarez, that's correct.
What's the content?
The content is Bryant Russell Clark and his father, which was Edward Barrett, I believe.
A few gold bars,
So we have
some
a
Spanish
Am I
galleons.
right? Bryant Randall, sorry, Bryant Randall Clark, that is correct. What was that? Colonia Juarez, thank you, I'm sorry. I should know that. Big difference. But that's an incredible find. We're actually finding a lot of really interesting information about Ezra T. Clark and his wives from the grandchildren, which was really surprising for me. I mean, the grandchildren were arguably far more open with their information than were the children, because the children had to be somewhat secretive because of the polygamy situation. The grandchildren are like an open book, and it's wonderful to read that. So, some other discoveries related to efforts by Kindex staff: that Ezra's posterity, who have been DNA tested, that are specifically searching for Native American ancestry through his line, are finding none. And the subsequent story of swimming eel. And we can talk about that another time. A certain gentleman contacted David Clark, the past president and owner of the Ezra T. Clark Archive, because his DNA matched that of many who were linked to Ezra. He was able to discover who his real father was, because he always assumed the father that had raised him was not his real father. And he was correct. There was some speculation that some living descendants of Wilford Woodruff Clark were from his second wife, whose name was Bernice Bagley, and not his first, as those living descendants had always believed. DNA evidence proved that indeed these descendants were from Wilford's first wife and not his second wife, Bernice Bagley, of which we believe she had no children. So that was all proven by DNA recently. Very interesting discovery. And that will probably be included in Glenn Clark's book that he's working on. Only 6% of these records that I'm talking about have been transcribed, meaning only 6% of all of that data is keyword searchable. It's all well organized, but it's not keyword searchable because we need help transcribing. We primarily would prefer that you transcribe the handwritten works first, of which there are many. We even got letters from Ezra James Clark while he was on his mission, the one who passed away eating ice cream on his way back. We have a lot of interesting documents that we don't even really know what's in the content because we haven't had enough time to transcribe them because we're focused so much on digitizing them. So we, with the help of others, audio recorded and documented much of the Clark tour, which we recently had at all the church sites and a lot of the Clark sites, and that will all soon be on Kindex as well. So that's just in a nutshell. I mean, it's a really broad overview of what we're doing. It's a lot of extensive work, but please reach out to us if you're interested. My card is back there by that picture of Ezra. We would love for you to be what are called collaborators and help in transcribing some of those works. And if you're interested about this archive, you can look at it right now on your phones, ezratclark.kindex.org, ezratclark.kindex.org. I'm going to turn the time back over to Rick. Thanks.
Thank you, Kimball. He spent a lot of time, lots and lots of time. And my understanding is you're going to spend the next 3 months with the keyboard and the green book.